It is finally time. We've got some more information and a release date for Project Motor Racing. We're going to look through the trailer first, and then we're going to go through the blog post that was released alongside it. This is, of course, the sim racing game being published by Giant Software and developed by Straight 4. It will be available on all platforms, and the release date is 25th of November 2025, so we've only got about 5 months to wait. I'm incredibly excited and have been chomping at the bit for more information about this game. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the trailer and then go through that blog post. It is important to note that I did actually look through this trailer live on stream earlier this afternoon, but it never hurts to go through it again. So let's do that.
Rated E for everyone.
When we sat down to conceptualize what career mode in Project Motor Racing would look like, our intention was to get players to think like professional racers and work backwards from there. In other words, how do you turn hot lap heroes into seasoned drivers feeling the pressure of real pros who don't approach each weekend ready to rewrite multiple chapters of the record books? Central to that, and to career mode, is an authentic motorsports economy. Your goal here isn't to win every single event, and there aren't any prize cars to unlock. It's you against your wallet because, well...
Can I just say how stunning the graphics are for this game? How pretty each of these cars look. And immediately, this career mode looks really, really awesome. The fact that they're going for an authentic feel, and it's not about winning, and it's not about sort of setting the best lap every time. It's about staying ahead. It's about making enough money to keep doing the thing that you love, and I really appreciate that.
That's racing, isn't it? Motorsport isn't particularly equal or fair. You'll start by selecting one of 3 financial backstories. Whether you want to replicate a rags to riches story, jump into the middle of the ladder right away, or take a shot at the very top echelons of motorsport is up to you and your ambitions. You'll then be asked to find...
I will, of course, be going for the rags to riches, and I will be streaming this game a lot when it comes out. Rags to riches is definitely the route I'm going to take.
The location for your team shop. Whether your team is based in North America, Europe, or Asia, that'll influence the prices of cars and event entry fees. And just like real racing, everything's available from the start. Whether you can afford it or not, though, will be based on your team's finances.
I really like that as well, because at the minute, with Giants and Farming Sim, doesn't matter what currency you chooses, the prices stay the same. So it will be really, really cool to see those prices fluctuate and change depending on where you're from. I think that's a really interesting dynamic, and I really like the fact they've done that.
You can make your life a little easier by selecting from one of 8 sponsorship models, our way of simulating the negotiations that go on every offseason between teams and the brands who support them. Each sponsorship model offers a different type of financial support. Some will merely give you a flat fee for showing up, others will pay your travel costs or repairs, and some will demand very specific results. It's on you whether you play it safe or risk it all and make a push for the championship. You'll begin career mode in the off-season, where you can enter any championship or one-off endurance race if you can afford it. What happens out on the track after that is on you. Wins, podiums, and sponsorships can keep your finances in the black, but travel costs and damage repairs will constantly eat into your wallet, sometimes a little more than you anticipated. And just like real racing, you might be surprised at the paycheck come season's end. It's not the 80s anymore. And that one dive for glory into turn 1 could wipe out your entire career in one split second.
That is insane and so good. Like, having sponsorships have been in sports games and stuff for a while, but it sounds like this takes it to a whole new level. It says that they replicate the negotiations and stuff, and I hope that that's not the case. I hope you get some way of customizing it and taking it to the table and seeing what you can get to get the right sponsorship for you and your game style. But so far, really loving this.
Be careful. This is Pro Motorsport.
And again, how pretty is this game? So that's the trailer. Let's jump into the blog and take a much deeper dive and see what everything is going on. Your motorsport career in Project Motor Racing. This was posted today, 24th of June 2025. Changing habits. Whenever you're given a blank slate to design a feature-length mode from scratch, simply looking across the aisle and copying someone else's homework isn't going to win you a lot of new fans. Sim racing as a hobby has existed upwards of 40 years, and it's important to pay attention to how the hobby has evolved over time, and with that, the various playstyles and commitment levels. A bare bones championship in the hope you'll be satisfied with a "you're a winner" splash screen at the end isn't going to cut it anymore. What's needed is maybe something a little more intense. Career mode in Project Motor Racing. Our goal for career mode in Project Motor Racing was to figure out how best to answer the question, how do we make this fun for people who run 3 races as well as the diehards who can put 20, 25 or even 30 races into a campaign mode? Continuity issues. Obviously, one of the first elements of any good racing game career mode is some sort of financial element. Race cars cost money to buy and operate. It's cool when a game mirrors that. This issue, though, is a weird continuity stuff that arises across campaign modes. It's odd as an experienced sim racer to go from winning races on ranked online plugins to booting up a new sim and being told you're a nobody who needs to start in some 75 HP tin top. You're the same driver. However, some people do still prefer that classic climb up the motorsports ladder, so we can't just assume everyone's a sim racing veteran. Our solution? Budgets to suit your ambition. In Project Motor Racing, you begin by picking from 3 preset starting budgets to craft the narrative you want from career mode. Option 1, you can opt to start with around $75,000, which gives you some freedom to choose in which amateur or low-level car you begin your career in. Option 2, if you want to jump right into GT3 or similar classes, in the middle of the ladder, an option exists to start with roughly $600,000 in the bank, enough for a car and to register you for your first championship, just be sure to keep defenders on it. And option 3, for those who want to chase immediate legacy and glory, you can opt to start with around $2 million. And then there's the 4th option, the one where you run your historics program with an absurd amount of money to replicate the dentist-tuned amateur racer experience. You do you. I like the fact there's a 4th option. I really like the fact there's a 4th option. These starting budgets have been carefully determined to ensure there's no outright surplus of cash. In other words, you will have just enough to get you off the ground into your first championship at different points on the ladder. So that's good. So it's not a, immediately get in and then you've won at life. You're still going to have to be careful. You're still going to have to plan around. You're still going to have to make sure you don't wreck your car on the first corner. I like that. Check your balance. Now, anytime you insert a financial element into a racing game career, what often happens is that if you play your cards right, you wind up with this obscene surplus of cash with nothing left to spend it on. This is disappointing because the best part about career is typically the mid-game grind where your cash flow is still a resource you're required to manage. Those little decisions you make on your way up the ladder and your performance in races have this tangible weight to them as a result. Our goal was to capture that in a bottle and make it as a constant element of your Project Motor Racing career. That's really good. Actually, I really like that because it's right. You get to a certain point in any game these days, you don't have to worry about anything. You get to a certain point, you've got more money than sense. You can make weird decisions. You can buy anything and everything, and you enter into a new era of that game, but it does make the money a little more hollow. For inspiration, our game director, Austin Ogonowski, turned to his own family who have been involved with NHRA drag racing since the 60s. One of his cousins is the current ET record holder in the NHRA's Nostalgia Funny car class, and both his uncle and grandpa are the Canadian Drag Racing Hall of Fame. That's some decent pedigree there. That's pretty good. When you're in this kind of family, you hear the financials discussed over dinner and how racing isn't particularly profitable. Yes, the $10,000 novelty check looks cool in photos, but nitromethane, food, and transportation for the weekend was $13,000. Congrats, you won the event, your photos in the National Dragstore, and you lost $3,000. And that's the secret sauce. Maybe not as punishing, but in the same ballpark. So each championship in Project Motor Racing has an entry fee, and each individual race has an individual travel fee to simulate. At a streamlined level, the fact that your team must physically travel to the event, which may be a half a world away, damage repairs are always something you'll need to keep in mind. Pro tip, don't wreck the car. Travel. If you're a race team in North America, flying across the Atlantic to race in Europe is quite the odyssey compared to jumping in on the interstate and heading 3 hours north to Lime Rock Park. So we've brought into the career mode as well. If you set your team's home region to North America, for example, you'll receive a discount when signing up for North American Championships, traveling to North American races and buying North American cars. There's a catch though. All championships in the game are structured to pay based on their real-world stature. Starting your team in Asia to run the Asian GT3 Championship might look affordable at first, but Asia's not really known for the GT3 scene. They love their silhouette cars. The novelty check at the end of the season might therefore be missing a zero, and you might find yourself opting to try your luck in Germany, travel expenses be damned. Save up enough and you can offset this problem by moving to a different region, mimicking, for instance, what some real-world Asian marques have done by setting up their operations in Europe. Whether you're trying to find the optimal path through your career or roleplay with your own backstory, Project Motor Racing gives you the tools to do that. I like that. I like the fact that you can move and locate. There's nothing worse than setting up a home garage and then realizing you've made a mistake and there's no way to change that. So I like that a lot. Sponsorship is different now. It's no secret that auto racing in 2025 looks quite a bit different than a generation ago. Generally, turning a profit off the race payouts alone isn't happening. A publicly released document that detailed payouts for the 2023 Daytona 24 Hours tells it its own story. Would you believe that winning the event netted just $25,000? Some of you have built sim rigs worth more than that. Wild stuff. But since our goal is authenticity, our career race payouts will reflect that reality. Which means that the other half of the spectrum is a sponsorship mechanic, which we can't have you guys running at a loss to prove some point about modern motorsport, and it also doesn't work the way it did in the 1990s, which is how a lot of games with sponsorship mechanics still work to this day. Newsflash, a few brands are offering a lucrative contract with millions showered upon last year's champion, but that's not how racing works anymore. Haven't worked that way since 2008 financial crisis. So how does it really work? As part of the design, we studied professional motorsport sponsorship courses. What was stressed time and time again is the individuality of it all. Each sponsorship is a deal, something the team, the driver, and the brand all mutually come to agreement on. So what we've done is replicate the negotiation side of sponsorship that occurs in modern motorsports. So you get your pick of sponsorship profile from 8 different archetypes at the beginning of each season. Here is a small sample. You can opt for a guaranteed flat fee every race, a safe bet if you want your financials to remain predictable. You can try your hand at something a little spicier with a higher flat fee if you finish on the podium. Your sponsor can exclusively cover damage repairs or entry fees, operational costs. The idea is your sponsorship model is something you carefully pick to ensure you stay in the black, because there is a red. And like a lot of race teams expect to operate quite close to it if things don't go your way. In other words, the sponsorship you negotiate may look on paper, but if you need to perform on track, otherwise you may be out of a career. Survival of the fittest. Now here's the fun part. Authentic mode features no restarts and is toggled on by default because there is an intended mode of play. You're welcome to switch it to traditional and get the restarts as well as your own curated AI, of course. That's good. I like the fact they started on that and you can switch it off, but I'm glad you can switch it off because a lot of people like sim racers, they like the fast cars. They're not very good. Your goal isn't to win a bunch of championships and collect all the cars, it's to survive financially from weekend to weekend and approach each event the way real race teams do. Think of it as a survival horror in the scorching cockpit of a GT3 car. We want you to fear a wreck in front of you the way real drivers do. We want you to be dejected at 5th place finish the way real drivers are. We want that gut-wrenching feeling that happens when the rear end breaks loose and you're barreling towards the wall. Knowing that is the end of your season, and we want you to be elated when you come out the final corner to live and fight another day. Whether you get 3 races or 30, you will get to experience that thrill and emotion. We've watched your hot lap videos. We've seen you stream on Twitch. We've downloaded your custom sets packs. We've seen you build track guides, racecraft lessons, and setup shops. You got this. That is how you write a blog post. That is awesome. I was enthralled by that, the descriptions, and the fact that the career mode sounds absolutely terrifying, but in its own awesome way. This is going to be a completely different experience from any other sim racer you have ever played before. Let me know in those comments down below what you thought of this blog post, what you think of the video, and let me know in those comments down below if you are planning on getting the game. Incidentally, if you are, you can click the link in the description down below to pre-order your game now, where you will get a GTE pack included in the season pass. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you all in the next video. I hope we get more and more information in the coming weeks for this game. Set your countdown timers, 25th of November. I'll see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.